Hemingway was born on July 21st in 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois, to Dr. Clarence Emmons Hemingway and Grace Hall Hemingway. The second of 6 children, Ernest enjoyed an adventurous boyhood, fishing and hunting with his father in the northern woods of Michigan. He attended Oak Park High School, where he excelled at his classes, particularly English. In 1918, he began service as an ambulance driver for the Italian Army. On July 8th, he was wounded on the Italian Piave while delivering chocolates, cigarettes, and postcards to soldiers. Hemingway married Elizabeth Hadley Richardson on September 3, 1921. The newlyweds soon entered the literary community of Paris, living off Hadley's trust fund and Ernest's pay as a foreign correspondent for the Toronto Star. The 1920s were an extremely productive writing years for Hemingway. 3 stories and 10 poems were published in 1923. 1927 is the year Hemingway ended his marriage to Hadley. His subsequent marriage to Pauline Pfeiffer happened on May 10, 1927. Ernest and Pauline would spend the majority of their years together on 907 Whitehead Street in Key West, Florida. On December 6, 1928, Hemingway was dealt a devastating emotional blow, as his father, suffering from severe diabetes and concerned about his financial future, shot himself. Hemingway continued to write, producing what many critics still feel is the best novel ever written about World War I. A Farewell to Arms was published in 1929 and solidified Hemingway's reputation as one of the greatest writers of his generation. Hemingway's experiences as a war correspondent for the North American Newspaper Alliance would inspire another great novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Exactly 1 month after its 1940 publication, Hemingway married fellow writer and war correspondent Martha Gillis Elhorn. It was a marriage that would only last 5 years. He married his 4th and final wife, Mary Welsh Monks, on March 14, 1946. For the next 14 years, the couple would live on Hemingway's Finca Vallega lookout farm in San Francisco de Paula, Cuba. Hemingway rallied, producing The Old Man and the Sea, after a novel of his, published in 1950, proved to be disappointing. The Old Man and the Sea, 1952, was a short work that earned him a 1953 Pulitzer Prize and ultimately the 1954 Nobel Prize for Literature. Physically unnerved from 2 plane crashes earlier that year, Hemingway was unable to attend the prize ceremony. On July 2, 1961, in his home in Ketchum, Idaho, Ernest Hemingway died of a self-inflicted shotgun wound to the head. His wife Mary found him and relayed the word of his husband's death to the world. Ernest Hemingway was 2.5 weeks shy of his 62nd birthday. Hemingway wrote in The Lost Generation, 1914 to 1929, which was preceded by the Interbellum Generation, 1901 to 1913, and succeeded by the Great Depression, 1929 to 1939. The Lost Generation is a term coined by the poet and author Gertrude Stein to characterize a general motif of disillusionment of the American literary notables who lived in Paris and Europe after the First World War, especially after a military service in the war. Figures identified with the Lost Generation included authors and artists such as Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ezra Pound, Sherwood Anderson, Waldo Pierce, John Dos Passos, John Steinbeck, and Cole Porter. Many people ask why Hemingway is so timeless and why he has endured while so many others, Jack London for instance, have disappeared into the hole of obscurity. One speaker answered the question by saying, "We all write through Hemingway." Hemingway's style of writing, the grade school-like grammar, austere word choices, and the unvarnished descriptions continues to be emulated today. The old joke about 20th century writers is that they can be divided into 2 distinct groups: those who are trying to write like Hemingway, and those who are trying not to. Hemingway's famous commentaries on the process of writing, his advice to beginners, and his criticism to his contemporaries is simply unparalleled. He is considered by many to be the most well-recognized writer of the 20th century, and perhaps the best American writer to ever put pencil to paper. Aside from his innovative style, the themes of his works are very human and enduring. From death to loss, to perseverance to courage, Hemingway writes of the subjects that affect us all. Popular novelist Elmore Leonard, who has authored scores of Western and crime genre novels, cites Hemingway as his permanent influence, and it is evident in his tightly written prose. Though Leonard never claimed to write serious literature, he has said, "I learned by imitating Hemingway, until I realized that I didn't share his attitude about life. I didn't take myself or anything as seriously as he did." A serious writer cannot be confounded with a solemn writer. A serious writer may be a hawk or a buzzard or even a popinjay, but a solemn writer is always a bloody owl. Ernest Hemingway. All of you young people who served in the war are a lost generation. You have no respect for anything. You drink yourselves to death. Gertrude Stein. Bullfighting is the only art in which the artist is in danger of death, and in which the degree of brilliance in the performance is left to the fighter's honor. Ernest Hemingway. He is candid. He is highly skilled. He plants his words precisely where he wishes. He has moments of bare and nervous beauty. He is modern in manner, but not in vision. He is self-consciously virile. His talent is contracted rather than expanded. Author Virginia Woolf. Decadence is a difficult word to use since it has become little more than a term of abuse applied by critics to anything they do not yet understand or which seems to differ from their moral concepts. Ernest Hemingway. The greatest story Ernest Hemingway ever composed was that of his own life. It seems only fitting that such a story should end in death, as all eventually do. How he chose to live, how he chose to write, and how he chose to die were all accomplishments of a thoughtful man, to whom every peril of life was a boyhood adventure, a glorious challenge, an intrinsic test of self-discipline and manhood that must always be met with the utmost dignity, the utmost fortitude, and of course, grace under pressure.
I've got emotion dripping out my pores, and I thought I would let you know.